pain don't hurt unless it's the pain of having your throat ripped out. That probably hurts a bit. Jamie?
Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Roadhouse. Welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. We're an 80s movie podcast where every other week we watch a different movie from the 80s and then we talk about that movie. I'm one of your two hosts. My name is Doug McCambridge, and with me, as always, but oh my God, trapped underneath a polar bear, it's Jamie Lorello.
No!
Jamie. Oh, I know, it's terrifying. How did you ever get out from under that thing? I can't believe it. You seem to be unconscious.
A polar bear will really get you, let me tell you. There's a wild boar in that room. There was some exotic animals in that room for a Kansas City.
There's a lot of trophies.
Mafia guy. I mean, what was he? He was the sheriff of the town.
He's Ben Gazzara. He's drunk. He's 60. He's 60 years old and kind of beating up Patrick Swayze.
He does. And he's all of 4'11" too, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can go for the knees and the legs. At one point, Patrick Swayze's like, you take out a dude's knees, he's useless. And Ben Gazzara somehow knew that. But we are not alone. As regular listeners know, we are doing something called the Summer of Sidekicks, where we are bringing on a different individual, either another podcast host or someone that's just interested in film, to come on with us episode by episode and bring us a movie we haven't done before. Mm-hmm. So we're joined by Tony from Hack the Movies. Tony, thank you so much for taking some time and talking to us today.
I am so happy to be here talking about what I consider the greatest film ever made.
Wow. Wow. Tony.
One could say it's the greatest piece of art ever made. There are a few things, they had to take things out of the movie that would have made it even greater, and I'll get to that at some point.
What would the run time on this thing have been?
Because it's almost 2 hours.
Left more stuff in there.
It's a long one.
Well, I will tell you, ballet. I'll just say that, and I'll explain what that is later on. But yes,
okay.
I love this movie. I found this movie like my freshman year of college. Mm-hmm. Like I've always heard about it, but I never caught it. And then like I read some stuff on it, how it's like this crazy movie, and then I watched it and like immediately was like, this is the greatest thing I had to like show all my friends. Like I went deep into Roadhouse. Like I've worked Roadhouse into a lot of like my short films and stuff in school. Like whenever I did a short film or a web series, it all took place in the fictional town of Dalton, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
There actually is
God.
a Dalton, Pennsylvania that I didn't know about, but mine was like because of this.
Wow.
Jesus.
I really got into this movie. I made a short film featuring the recently deceased New Jack. The wrestler New Jack has a part in it, about two bar bouncers that became bar bouncers because they were so obsessed with Roadhouse, but they were terrible bar bouncers. Because they didn't have real training, they just watched the movie Roadhouse.
Well, yeah, and if you watch this movie and think you can be a bouncer, you think it's all just about, I guess, scanning the crowd and nodding a lot and having a badass plan.
So, nodding and telling other people to do your business for you.
When you watch the special features on the DVD, they actually have a thing from like real life coolers and bouncers, and they're like, this movie it's a little exaggerated, but it's actually not too far off. Like the whole like don't fight right away, try everything to de-escalate the situation.
Take them outside. That was an important rule. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like those are all really good lessons. Like that's actually what part of it is, because like you don't want to fight in the bar.
Right.
Like you're there to break it up, but like because of insurance and stuff, like you want to get them just out of the building and be like, all right, it's on you. Goodbye.
And that's the one thing I thought when I was watching this. When Patrick Swayze went through those rules, I was sitting there going, no shit. Like, everybody should know this. I saw that place got destroyed in one night. Everything was broken. I'm like, how did no one else think to do this? Thanks for coming on with us. We're really happy that you brought this movie Roadhouse to us. And as I was starting to say before we started recording, when I do tell people we're doing this show, and especially when I mention to people like we're 6 years into it, they're like, oh, all right, which one is your Roadhouse episode? Everybody assumes we've already done it. It's one of those films that for some reason we just haven't stumbled upon yet.
I'm shocked you have not done it. I'm glad that I'm here to walk you through this journey.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're just the right guide. Not guy, but guide. Yeah. Or both.
Yeah. I mean, it's extremely popular. If anybody says Patrick Swayze, I assume first and foremost they think of Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Probably.
Like this Outsiders and Red Dawn.
I mean,
but you see his tush in this. You see a little.
You do.
You see some tushy. And I'm not going to lie, it's a sweet tush.
Yeah.
Is that a double, though?
No, why would it be a double?
No. Did you see him? He was in ridiculous shape.
Yeah.
He probably was like, it better be my ass in the
Yes,
shot.
I would think so. That's exactly what I would think he would say.
I am only asking because it's not like a shot where you see him get out of bed and turn his back. It's this insert shot of a dude's ass for a long time. And then it's not like he turns around to reveal that it's him at all. It just cuts back to him. That's all. All right, so let's talk about Roadhouse from '89, directed by, and how can I not refer to this guy as Rowdy Roddy Harrington? Like, if your name is Rowdy, if that's what you're going to go by, I'm sorry, but Roddy already has a trademark on that name.
He is, he is the director of Gladiator. Not that Gladiator. The other Gladiator. He's the director of the other Gladiator.
Oh.
The Gladiator from like 92 that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah,
or
with
seen.
Cuba Gooding Jr. and James from Twin Peaks. I love his Wikipedia here. It's like born in 1951. Blah blah blah. His thing is a Hollywood director currently living in Montana. He's married and has no children. It's like, can someone else add a little bit more to that?
Maybe a dog or another hobby that you got going on there.
Like, did he want children? Why is that important?
And sadly, he was unable to conceive children.
Well, you know what? It's fine. Because he gave birth to the greatest thing ever gifted to humanity, which is Roadhouse.
Not that I'm surprised you have that feeling. And again, like, we'll get into it at the end. We'll sort of let our feelings known and everything like that. But this is a much loved movie. Like, this is I remember watching this when I was probably about 13 when I saw this. And so again, I haven't seen it since then. But through the years, you hear about it. Like, I know I had seen it. I remembered basically none of this movie when I rewatched it. I didn't remember any.
13-year-old you didn't remember any of it?
Surprising, right?
I mean, totally makes sense. You were 13. Your brain couldn't handle something this magnificent.
Oh, right.
And it couldn't accept it, and therefore it rejected the memory of it to spare you some mental anguish. But now that you're an adult, I'm sure you've seen the light.
Right. Yeah. My 13-year-old self was like, I think there's boobs in it. I'm not sure. We'll have to find out.
That's my
first
thought is, this is very sexy. Very sexy.
It's a very sexy movie.
This movie, I'm going to say this movie commits two huge cinematic sins in my mind.
Okay.
One is taking David Keith and doing nothing with him, sticking him behind a bar.
I'm sorry. Keith David.
David Keith
is another actor who I think is dead.
No, we actually just did They Live, and it was the same thing. Okay. But the fact that they gave him nothing to do, the fact that they stuck him behind a bar and gave him one line of dialogue, I think is a cardinal sin.
Did you notice something in the opening credits? He's like fourth billed.
Oh, I didn't even see his name.
So what happened was, and it's a shame, I don't know if this has changed since, I can't find any deleted scenes of this movie. I've seen pictures. The trailer has some stuff. There was a deleted scene where Dalton saves Keith David and his wife from some like racist like hillbillies.
Oh.
And then offers him a job. And I think if they included that scene, that would have ended racism in the 80s.
Oh, definitely.
And we'd be living in a utopia. But it was like one of those, like, this is too great. It would change life too much.
In an alternative universe, it did happen.
Those corporate fat cats just didn't want us to have peace. So they said, cut that scene out of Roadhouse. But yes, that's why it is, because it is weird. He's never introduced to the movie.
No.
It's just the bar gets a little nicer. And like, oh, there's Keith David, fourth build in the credits. He has like 3 lines. Like, what the fuck? It's because this entire thing was cut out.
I could not believe it. I was like, this is after They Live and
Yeah.
The Thing and Platoon. And I'm like, what is he doing in here? He's doing nothing. And the other thing I will say, Jamie, and you can argue with me about this, is I wanted this movie to be a little bit sexier. Like the sex scene, I wanted kind of like, you have these 2 gorgeous human beings and you kind of just, they wander off camera to have sex.
You wanted
and I was
more.
like, do more.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't
and
like-
then they do sit naked and have a pretty boring conversation later. But I kind of wanted that. It's nothing that I really look for in a whole lot of movies, but what you're doing in this film, yeah, give me more sex,
Wait.
strangely enough.
You didn't like when he like threw her up against a
Yeah.
stone wall?
Yeah, that was fine. That was fine, but just go further with
It
it.
was the
Do
fireplace. It was the
more.
fireplace, and I was a little nervous for her. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
he was being very gentle. He was being gentle yet aggressive.
Yeah, the behind the scenes for this movie are pretty great, and she like will make fun of scenes like that.
Okay.
She makes fun of
Yeah.
her hair. She makes fun of that weird picnic blanket she's wearing in one scene. She's totally cool with it.
I gotta say, that hair is crazy. When I saw that hair, I was like, this is 89.
Yeah.
You're like 2 years too late on
Yeah,
this.
she's feeling a little 80s height there in her hair for
Yeah.
This is like the very end. This was like the goodbye to the 80s.
Yeah.
This film. Like, we're
just
done now.
trying to hold on, just grasping at anything you can hold on to for this. All right, so let's start this up and let's talk about how Dalton
Yes.
is Patrick Swayze's character's name. We meet him first somewhere where there's palm trees. It looks very Miami-ish, let's say, just
Yeah.
because there's some neon and palm
Yeah.
trees. He's a big time, as you had said earlier, Tony, he's a cooler. And
Cooler.
can you please explain the difference between a cooler and a bouncer
A
to me?
cooler is in charge of the bouncers.
Oh, okay. So not just bouncer boss.
Yeah, I think cooler is like cooler is a cooler word. But yeah, I really love the beginning here with the opening titles, where they just show a woman's ass and it's like Roadhouse, and it's like, yep, I'm in. And also, do you know the band playing at the bar?
the Jeff Healey band. Is that
No. That's later
That's-
on with the blind guy, the
Oh,
first
the blind guy.
band
Yeah.
at the first bar.
No, who is that? Because they.
It's Tito and the Tarantula.
I did look at him. I made a note before looking on IMDb, and I was like, this dude looks like a fucking vampire. And then I went on and I was like, oh, he was in Dust Till Dawn.
Yes,
Okay, that makes total
he was
sense.
the band leader from Dust Till Dawn.
Right,
He was also
yes.
in Desperado. He's like
Yeah.
one of the guys. Yeah. And they're singing like "Don't Throw Stones," which is a great fucking song. And also, right off the bat for this movie, the cinematography is beautiful. And it's because it's like Dean Cundy, who in my opinion is like one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. Jurassic Park, Halloween, Escape from New York, like just every big thing you could think of. And then I think the last big movie he did was Jack and Jill, which is kind of depressing.
They can't all be. They can't all be Roadhouse.
But you got some nice widescreen establishing shots in this, and like going through the cinematography so good.
Oh, they established the hell out of everything. Like
make sure
they were like, we rented a helicopter for several weeks, and we're going to use this thing.
We rented.
There were aerial
Getting later
shots.
into the movie, we rented a monster truck. The bad guys will casually drive it around town.
How great is that monster truck? The size of those wheels is insane. It's foolish, is what it is. Just foolish.
My favorite thing about the monster truck is you never see any guys getting into it because that
No.
would not look cool.
That's
Like
it,
everybody
yeah.
always gets out of it because getting into it must be the most awkward
Yeah.
thing to ever be seen on screen. But these aerial shots, like they have an aerial shot of the hardware store at one point.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems unnecessary.
Well, then you got to see it blow up later. That's why you need that aerial shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to see the distance it is from the bar.
Obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's working at this place, and he appears to be well known, pretty much a celebrity here.
Okay.
And so this older gentleman comes in, and after he gets sort of knifed in kind of not really a fight, but he's stitching himself up, and this guy offers him a job at his bar outside of Kansas City, I think he says,
Kansas
right?
City.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Kevin Teague, right?
Yes.
Offers him, and he plays. Sorry, I'm blanking on the names for some reason. Frank Tillman.
Okay.
By the way, so the guy he kicks out of the bar after getting stabbed, I like how he takes him out and they think there's gonna be this big brawl and then he just leaves them.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "What are you gonna do, moose lips?" I'm like, "What's moose lips? That's a weird fucking insult."
There are so many insults in this movie that I didn't understand. I was like, are these things of the time that I just didn't get, or is it just nonsense writing? And I feel like it's just nonsense writing.
So Kevin Teague, Frank Tillman comes in. He's like, "I want you to be my bouncer. I'll pay you. Oh, what is it like?
It's $500 a night and $5,000 up front.
Yeah." And then Dalton just goes, "I can live with that." It's like, motherfucker, you better be able to live with that. That's a pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
I just love how easy it was to convince him to pick up and go. Like, this guy, I almost feel like he's like, you know what? My work here in Miami's done. Like, I'm
And his
finished
other
with this
boss,
town.
his boss from the current club or the current bar walks in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm moving on. It's my last night." Like,
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everyone says he's the best.
Yes.
And he always says Wade Garrett's the best. And I think Wade Garrett's the best because he will honor his contract to the end. Whereas Dalton will be like, "Someone offered me more money. I'm out. Goodbye."
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.
I have to say,
Wade Garrett, like, I don't see how this guy's the best. Because when I'm watching him, I'm like, what kind of weird contract did you sign? Like, you're still at some dive bar who's putting on, like, strip shows behind dudes playing pool. I'm like, why is the best in the business here? I didn't
I have
understand.
to say,
then,
when they first mentioned Wade Garrett, I didn't hear it right, and I thought he said Leaf Garrett, and I was like, "Are we having?" I didn't see his name in the credits, but if that's awesome, if we have a little cameo,
Leaf Garrett's the best. It's
Yeah, I
like,
was
wait, what? Are we talking about the same thing? No, I just really like Leaf Garrett. I don't know
so
what
it's just the best.
I do like, this is the start of the running gag of the, I thought you'd be
Oh
bigger.
yes.
Oh, yep.
Not like I thought you'd be taller. It's I thought you'd be bigger. And I'm like, that could go several different
Yeah, I
ways,
thought the
to
same
be
thing.
honest.
I was like, what did they mean by the bigger size?
Like
because
muscular?
but he is
taller?
pretty muscular, and I guess he's not very tall. But
Yeah, he's muscular, but he's lean. He's not like big. He's not like fucking like 80s wrestler muscular.
Right.
No, that's the thing. I assumed people meant like totally jacked out of his mind, but he's not. And yeah, that's the running joke. But also, we see that there are some guys who are toughs who seem dangerously overweight and should probably not be doing this and should not be fighting. So I was shocked by the fact that they keep sending that guy in suspenders and a trucker hat out to fight Patrick Swayze. It's like, this is not an even match here.
Yeah.
So he decides that he's going to go. He's going to take this job, pick up and go. And this is the first part of the movie where we see that he's got a thing for cars. Like, he's got to have his nice Benz that he doesn't want anything to happen to. But then he just has a beater that he, I guess, just takes these random bars because he knows it's going to get destroyed.
And he gives the car to the dude who was driving the tractor in Terminator when the Terminator shows
that's
up.
who
That guy
is.
with the
Yeah,
boys.
yeah.
I was going to say, that's a deep pull there.
He's like, "What do you think
love
I am, a
this guy.
valet?" He's got
I
a weird
love
voice.
this guy's reaction that I'm not a valet. I think it's fantastic that he thought, for whatever reason, Patrick Swayze was just asking him to park his car for him.
But it's a gift. It's just a gift. He's that nice. Dalton is that kind of a lonely man.
I also love how the owner of the Double Deuce offers to buy him a plane ticket, and Patrick Swayze's like, "No, I'm going to
He
drive."
doesn't
And
fly.
he goes, "Well, when can I see you?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'll show up."
Yeah, he's
Okay,
like,
fine.
flying's too dangerous. And it's like, well, statistically, not really. I mean,
Not at all, actually. This is way more dangerous. You're driving from Florida to Kansas City.
he probably has a more likely chance of dying, like tripping on the way to his car than he does on a plane, to be honest.
You get caught in a hurricane. Who knows what happens in the South? And this double deuce, he shows up to this place, and it's pretty much just like a converted barn.
Yeah.
Like, surrounded by nothing, just dust and nothing.
It's got the cage covering the band made out of chain link fence, which I love.
Yeah. That's one side. You can almost see Dalton's like face as he's like check marking, like, yep, that's shady.
Yep.
Like the guys in the parking lot. Yep, that's not a good sign. The crowd by the pool tables. Yep, that's not a good sign. Oh.
They're doing drugs
Yeah.
in the thing.
Yes. When the waitress is like, don't give me the money now. Let's go to the bathroom. And he's watching them, and I'm like, oh, he's not into this at all.
You know how you know it's a really, really bad bar? When there's just one shirtless guy dancing in the crowd. There's like a big crowd, and you just see a shirtless guy with like cowboy boots dancing. You're like, oh, this is a real bad place.
Terrible.
This kind of looks like almost every bar near where I live, which is such a shame. And as we sort of said earlier, he appears to be famous. Like, this movie's set in almost an alternate universe where bouncers are like celebrities or professional athletes or something.
Well, I guess if you're in that field, he would be famous. Because, I work and do a lot of YouTube stuff, and I know, YouTubers. And if you're familiar with YouTubers, like, these are big names. And then I go hang out with my family. I'm like, oh, yeah, so-and-so. And they're like, we literally don't know that person exists. And I used to film seminars for like some self-publishing thing, and there were people there that I never heard of, and these people were like, "This is like the greatest self-publishing author," blah blah blah. It's like, so I wasn't too mad about it. Like, if you're in that industry and you're aware of coolers and bar, you probably are like, "Oh, Dalton's the biggest. He's the best."
It's jaw-dropping. The reaction is like, they really are like, "Oh, do you know who that is?" And apparently his picture doesn't get around much because they don't know his size and they don't know. But
they don't know what he looks like. They don't know how big he is. They know the name.
Right. Yes.
And you're right, Jamie. That waitress who later turns out to be a singer. Not sure what that's all about.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann, who you think is the love interest at
because she
first.
brings the sandwich over, the breakfast sandwich, and you're like, oh, what's happening here? Quirky little lover.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, this can't, first of all, it can't be the love interest. I was like, this quirky woman and Patrick Swayze, there's no way. But I did kind of like how there seemed to be a relationship to them, and then they just
faded
dropped
it out.
And she disappeared.
Well, because she had to focus on performing after that. She's,
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
She was like, I got to go to my vocal exercises. I can't be hanging out with you all the
she
time.
does like disappear, but you really think she's gonna be like the main character, or at least like his best friend, and it just doesn't happen.
No.
She's just gone after a bit.
No.
There was a deleted scene with her too. It's in the trailer. Where they're like in a car together having a conversation. I forgot what the context was. So there was a little bit more, and it all got cut.
I would kind of love to have seen more of her. Like, she feels like she should have been cast in Pee-wee's Big Adventure instead of this. Like, she would have been great in that. I don't know. I'm not saying you need more fun in this movie because I don't know, guys punching each other in the face and doing roundhouse kicks and all that. That's fun enough. But I kind of would have liked to have seen her character a little more fleshed out.
Yeah.
We talked about how this place is bad news, and you said because there's a single shirtless man dancing.
It's how you know it's bad.
Right, yeah. And there's all sorts of, fights that we get into in a minute. But I love how the owner changes the word fuck to Buick.
Oh, yeah.
And then kind of looks around with a smile like, did you see what I just did here? That's amazing.
I've always joked, like, I've always wanted to film this skit where there's like just some pervert waiting by his phone, like all oiled up and like all ready, and then people keep calling, and he's like, "Oh, hello," and they're like, "Yeah, well, how about that Buick?" And he's like, "Stop calling me about the Buick."
Right?
He like
Buick
goes,
is
he has
not
to
that
go back
hot.
to the bar and fix it.
I like better that the guy would write that on the wall and then run home and sit and wait by the phone like he was going to get a call. As you said, there's a band behind the cage, and this guy, so he's a blind musician. He's the singer, the leader of this band.
Is he related to Dalton at all, or is he just Dalton knows they know each other well? Because I thought at first
Dalton just knows him.
Okay. Because Dalton sneaks
they're
up
not
on
related.
him. He tells, shh, be quiet. I mean, he's blind, so he can't see him coming. But they're, okay, I wasn't sure if they were related or it's just that they know each other. They're good friends. A blind band member needs to know the cooler of the bar, I'm sure.
And of course, Jeff Healey, as you guys probably know, really was blind.
Yeah.
He went blind at a young age, and he actually like taught himself to play guitar just by like feeling it and stuff. So that was pretty crazy.
Amazing.
That is and it's sort of more interesting when you know that, because for a while I was like, oh, he's playing a slide guitar. No, it's just a guitar. It's like a regular guitar sitting on his lap, but he plays it like a slide guitar, which is absolutely crazy. But I guess if you learned how to play that way, that's how you play.
Yeah, and it's probably easier for him to like, So I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. So we should talk about how the big fight breaks out here, because it's a $20 boob kiss is the way that the huge fighting here starts. And at every turn in my stupid notes watching this, I'm like, what's going on at this bar? How is all this happening? Like, at every turn I was like, what is it? What's going on? Like, we see bouncers, but they don't seem to pay attention to anything.
No.
At one point, the owner has to tell the bouncers to throw out the passed out drunk that's laying down next to them on the steps.
Yeah.
So this guy, who I might be wrong, I think this dude is like a voice actor. The guy who wants people to kiss his wife's tits. I think he might be the Cobra Commander voice actor.
Oh.
What?
Fact check me on that. I don't know shit about Cobra Commander, so I don't know why that fact would be in my head other than it's 100% real and I read it somewhere before. But yeah, you're right. He's all like, you like my wife's tits? For $20, you can kiss them. It's like, all right, well, that's a weird, like, what?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to yell to two guys across the room.
Yeah.
And kiss
just
the
to
tits.
kiss them? I'm like, I wouldn't pay to kiss tits at that point. That seems a little personal, but I like that he's touching them.
Oh yeah, he
like,
kind of tunes in Tokyo on them, right? He just kind of gropes at them, and they're like, "Well, when are you gonna start kissing?"
He's like, I can't. I don't have $20.
It's a great gag, and like you said, $20 seems very steep, especially $20 in 1989 money. And when this guy tells these dudes $20, the one guy literally goes, "That's a great deal."
He says, "Yeah, he does." Wait, what his reaction is, I think, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, really? Only $20?
You
That's
got
great.
kid or kiss? It's up to you. Yeah.
And then this starts like the big brawl, right?
Yes. This is when, and everybody, it's like dominoes. Once one punch is thrown, the whole bar. It's like this bar has been waiting to be able to smash bottles. Lots of bottles are smashed, but I mean...
Yes.
And everything's destroyed. Yeah. Like, the bouncers even pick guys up and smash them onto the tables, destroying the tables in this place.
You know which bouncer really loves beating people up?
Are you saying the 45-year-old bouncer at this bar?
Well, the professional wrestler Terry Funk. He is one of the bouncers. He's the guy who says, I heard you had balls big enough to come in a dump truck, but you don't look like shit. It's like, that is a weird thing to say. It's a weird fucking thing to say, Terry Funk.
Because I was like, what does that mean? They're so big you need a dump truck to move them, or you can fill a dump truck with cum?
Think it's
I was
filled,
like, this is
filled
horrible.
Cum truck.
Other ways.
That's how I took it, at least.
Okay, that's fine. So we see he shows up. He takes a look at this bar. He's like, "This place is a mess." But you know what? I can figure this out. I'm pretty much a hero.
He's up for the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So he buys a crappy car, and then we see that he finds a wonderful. And I don't want to go too far ahead, but he finds a wonderful room. Like, this above the barn loft space is gorgeous. That this hillbilly Santa rents him.
This hillbilly. First off, I want to talk about his car. Did you see it was like there's like a black hole in his trunk? Because he puts all the tires in, they're past the brim, and then the next scene he just shuts the lid. It's like, those weren't going to shut. So yeah, but you're right. So he goes to Emmett's place, who's this redneck, yokel-looking dude, played by a guy named Sunshine Parker. And apparently...
I noticed that name in the credits. I was like, I can't wait to meet Sunshine.
Yeah,
so I was like, all right, that works.
So apparently Sunshine raises horses.
Yeah.
And he's amazing with interior design because he has the most lavish barn apartment I've ever fucking seen.
You'd pay $500 a night on Airbnb for something like that in Montana.
Oh, by the way, so he's all like, "Oh, I got this room for rent. I don't want to charge you money, but then the church I belong to will get mad. So how's $100 a month?" And then the balls that are big enough to fill a dump truck on Patrick Swayze just goes like, yeah, I think I can deal.
Yeah.
Another, he's like, that sounds pretty good. I'm like, you make $500 a night.
And he
Your
just
rent-
dropped cash on his car. He paid all cash for that
Yeah, it's
jalopy
like
of a
your
car,
rent's
and now
covered with like less than a week's work.
he'll make it work. He'll make it work for that view. I love every time they all do it. He does it. I even think when the waitress comes to visit, they open that one window to take in the sprawling
Yep.
view of
Yeah.
the water and everything. It's got a lovely view, like you said,
And,
immaculately decorated.
He's got like multiple sets of French doors that he can open and walk out onto this
And
patio.
it's very convenient for Dalton because he just lives across the street from the film's bad guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Who likes to fly his helicopters
Oh
over
yeah,
the
that's
horse.
yeah. So that happens when he's renting and when he makes the deal to rent this place. There's this helicopter that keeps flying low
Yeah.
down, and you're like, "What's happening, Karen? Are they following us? What's happening?" Yeah, it's the bad guy, like
Ben
flying-
Gazzaro, Brad
yeah.
Wesley.
Yeah, what's his character's name again?
Brad Wesley.
Wesley. That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah, and I'm so surprised they refer to him by his first name. Like Wesley seems like a great name for a bad guy. And I'm like,
Wesley.
oh, Brad Wesley. Like
Brad
first of all, he
Wesley.
seems like he should be in his 20s at a country club or something like that. Yeah, it's not a great way to introduce your villain, Brad. This elderly man named Brad.
I love Brad.
So Dalton comes in and he's now in charge and he's going to lay down the law at this bar. So
Yeah.
he has the bartender and all the waitresses and the bouncers there.
And he fires them.
Yeah, he's
Yes,
two are done.
Immediately fires
Yeah.
multiple.
He fires Terry Funk. He fires the drug addict girl, the guy
Mm-hmm.
who's like stealing from the and then the guy who is Brad Wesley's nephew.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The
that guy.
bartender.
Yeah, that was his big
Yeah.
mistake right there. And that's what everyone says, you should not have fired him. That's what the waitress
Yeah.
comes with the sandwich to point out. Like,
Right,
well, that was a
right.
dumb move, but you'll figure that out soon enough.
Well, later on in this movie, I'm like, your uncle owns this town. Like, why is he so dependent on the job as a bartender at this place? Like, you could force him to work at the hardware store. It doesn't matter.
Well, and
like,
he's fired
that
because
job
he's
wasn't
skimming
that
off
important.
the top. He's taking money.
You can do that at a hardware store. You steal a box
You
of
could.
nails a week, and it's
You
fine.
could, I suppose, yeah.
But I like when he's giving them all these rules, and one of his rules is be nice.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
one of the bouncers, the exchange is literally Swayze going, be nice. And the bouncer goes, come on. And he goes, be nice. And the bouncer says, okay.
Okay.
So really, he doesn't get much resistance.
Well, he gives 4 rules, but really there's 5 because his first rule, he says, never underestimate the opponent and expect the unexpected. That's 2 in 1. He wasn't getting it by me like that.
I did hear that. And
I
then
don't
he
know.
goes,
Those might be there. And then, of course, 2, take it outside. Never start
Yep.
anything inside the bar unless it's absolutely necessary.
That's
and
true.
3, be nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
be nice.
Till it's
I love
time
how
to
the-
not be nice.
Oh, go ahead.
So it's time to not be nice.
And I love it. It's when we get the taste of just how philosophical, because later we see Dalton doing his Tai Chi by the water, and we get a little taste for just how, like, philosophical he is.
I'm
which-
glad you mentioned his philosophy
Yeah.
because that comes up later
Yes.
in a scene.
When he says he was a philosophy major, I almost lost my mind.
I love when the guy goes like, "What if someone calls my mama a whore?" And he's like, "Is she?" And the guy should be like,
so great.
"No, she's not." So can
No,
you
but
answer
he
my
looks
question?
at her like, how did you know?
Yeah, he doesn't say no. Like I'd be like, "No."
No, because that happens to this guy a lot.
Yeah.
And he knows it's true. It's such a shame.
It's like, damn, he's got my number. He figured that out pretty
Yeah.
quick. God damn it.
So what we find out very quickly is to sort of make sure that the bar is, under control. Basically, no dancing on the tabletops. He has
Yes.
gets into a little scuffle because of a lady who's dancing on the tables.
Is this
And then
is this when
yeah.
the guy goes to fight him and he throws his face through the table?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the guy pulls out a knife and he sneaks up behind him and grabs his hand. And the one bouncer goes, "Did you see that?" It's like, yeah, he stood behind him and grabbed his arm.
Yeah. We recreated for that short film I did. We recreated the face through the fucking table, but it's like a girl's like flirting with a guy and she like playfully hits him and the bartender just grabs her face and just recreated
That's
the
awesome.
head through the table part.
That's awesome.
So he does see that one of the other bouncers is, let's say, making time with the lady in the back, and he's immediately fired for this.
Well, I love
as
it.
well.
Making time with the lady in the back. Dalton walks right in on them. Doesn't wait till the job is finished. Doesn't knock on the door and say, "Come on out, you're fired." He walks right in the middle of business. It's pretty much like, and I love her reaction when. Did you see her reaction? She kind of does like a, "Oh no."
So what I like about that is the one guy, because this was the name of my short film, was Saturday Night Thing. He's like, "You're gonna be my regular Saturday Night Thing." It's like, oh, that's very. If I know anything about women, it's that they love to be referred to as things.
Yeah,
It's romantic.
and especially for a certain day of the week.
But
I mean,
also, I want to point out this movie is released in 1989, filmed in 1988. No one's wearing a fucking condom in this thing. Everyone's just going in bare dry.
Yes.
Like, at no point does anyone go like, "Hey, there's a lot of stuff. Should we should probably wear a condom at this point?" Like, other movies were making an effort to have their characters have safe sex, like the Halloween movie that came out this year in 1989, Halloween 5. The guy's like, "We should use a condom." Roadhouse is like, "Fuck that, we're going in raw."
Yeah, no, we don't care. We got buckets. We got truckloads of cum coming at you. We don't care.
Dump truck full.
It's just funny when you think about when it was made. I'm like, oh wow, these guys are really just going for it, aren't they?
I assume the director was like, "We're pushing 2 hours. Cut the condom scenes. Cut the condom
exactly.
conversations.
Safety,
We gotta cut this thing down."
And that'll happen when we revamp the Double Deuce, okay? And we've got the new blue lights. Then we'll give out condoms at the front, and it'll be all good. What is this party that isn't this the next scene where Dalton is kind of reading a book and cozying up in his little upstairs apartment?
He sees the party across the lake.
And I love the look he gives, like, oh, party goers.
It's almost like he's saying like, "Oh, those kids."
Yes!
But it's an elderly man and his adult like cohorts. And I love the really tall guy, how he does like the best dance, dorkiest thing. But yeah, they're all tits out, just jumping in the pool and shit.
Swimming time.
The next morning, after he realizes that he's in the coolest place possible, I guess, he gets to see people party really far away. Like, when you see this at actual distance, it's so far away.
Yeah.
But anytime people are looking back and forth, when Ben Gazzara's watching he and that woman naked out on the thing, I'm like, you are miles away from it. There's no way you're seeing what's going on.
Like, if they just had binoculars,
a pair of Nockies is all I need.
Yes. Oh, I love how Patrick Swayze like turns the light off so the party won't see him. And it's like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
and his look of disgust for them. He's like, oh, God. Let them
But he really
party.
does turn off the light. Like, I don't want them to see me watching.
Yeah.
Because they'll think I'm just a weird pervert that lives across the lake. So the next day, like we said, the waitress brings him some breakfast unprompted, which is a really strange thing.
Well, it is because he sleeps naked, but now apparently they know where he lives.
Yes.
And so, she comes and brings him a little sandwich and is pleasantly surprised by the fact that he sleeps naked.
Yes.
Because this is when we get a little Swayze ass.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and her reaction is like,
Yeah.
Yep.
oh my God.
She's best.
First of all, it's an appropriate reaction. Like, if you see those Swayze buns, that is the reaction you should
Well,
have.
and if you have bangs like that, yeah.
I never got why girls were so into asses on guys. Like, I get why guys are into it. I never got why girls were into it. But also, I've never seen a girl like have an orgasm just looking at a guy's ass like this girl had. Carrie Ann's like, oh my God.
Well, judging from what she sees coming in that bar, this is probably the best of the best that she's seen. So, and it's naked, and she also, I'm not judging, but she doesn't look like she sees a lot of naked guys. Maybe
Are you
she
kidding me?
does.
That bar, she's seeing naked guys left.
Oh, I
and
guess-
right.
I
What are you
guess
talking about?
perhaps,
They're fucking
yeah.
in the stock room and shit.
Yeah, she's right. Like, I thought I was his Saturday night thing.
You're telling me, okay, in a bar where a guy's just dancing shirtless on the dance floor, you're telling me someone doesn't get drunk and just take off their
You're
pants?
right. You're right. But again,
I've been
it's
to-
not in a Swayze body. It's not Dalton's body. So
That's
she's
true,
probably
that's
like,
true.
Jesus, I didn't know they were supposed to look like that, those asses.
It really, this movie really is like just about a beautiful man who swept into town and changed everything.
He's a very handsome man.
There's some more fights that night at the bar. There's fights all the time.
So many fights. You're telling me this isn't the greatest film in the world? Like, look how many fights there are.
There are fights. Every time you turn around, there are fights. And it's, so this time it's the bartender who wants his job back.
Yeah.
And they're kind of pushing around the owner, and the owner's kind of weak and doesn't want to do anything or doesn't want to, I mean, he knows who's in charge. And we've already sort of seen Ben Gazzara, but not really. We're not really introduced to him yet.
Yeah.
But we find out that this guy is his nephew. And of course, Patrick Swayze kind of just has to kick the shit out of these guys.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, they send a very overweight man in here to fight. And they also send a guy who appears to be like middle-aged. He's balding. And Patrick Swayze beats the shit out of these guys, no problem. And I'm like, why are you sending these two? And later when we see the collection of these four toughs, I'm like, these people don't appear to be in the same movie as each other, and none of them should be on this guy's payroll.
They should have sent Jimmy ahead of time.
Yeah.
Jimmy, the denim-clad Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I was so confused. It takes him forever to show up or to become a character, because I knew the throat rip. Like, as, again, as a 13-year-old, that's the one thing I really remembered about this. And I'm watching this movie for over a half hour going, where is this guy? Like, I think he's the main bad guy, right? But no, they wait for a long time to introduce him.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of murdered not too long after that.
Yeah, he's pretty great, and I can't wait to talk about that fight scene at the end and how beautiful that fight scene is.
The ripping of a throat, and it literally is. He takes the voice box and just rips it out. But anyway, we'll get there.
He tears this guy's throat out, and you hear him fall and go, I'm like, how's he making that
there's
noise?
no throat there. What's happening?
So is this when the guy has like the knife on his boot and stuff?
Oh,
Oh, is that later?
That's a little bit later.
Okay, never mind.
This is when there is a knife in this scene, because this is when he gets cut and he has to go to see a sexy doctor.
That's right.
Oh, real quick, did he go to the hardware store yet?
We missed that when he meets
Yes.
Red.
Yeah, sorry.
They throw like a stop sign through his car or something.
Yes, and he's just randomly picking it up and out. Yeah.
Yeah, then he goes to the hardware store. I do want to mention the hardware guy is Red West, who was one of Elvis Presley's friends, close friends in his inner circle. Like when they make
one
movies,
of the dudes that wear the giant sunglasses, and it's like one of his entourage and stuff. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so like when they make movies about Elvis, they have actors play that guy. That's how close he was with Elvis.
Wow. Well, he's a fun little part in
Also,
this.
he's a Jedi. Did you see that scene? So he's talking to Patrick Swayze.
What?
Yeah, he's talking to Patrick Swayze. You have to look at it. Again, I know this movie way too well because I'm sad. He's talking to Patrick Swayze. He's like, blah, blah, blah. I married an ugly woman, never married an ugly woman. They take the life right out of him. And he's going to pick up something, and you can see a stagehand is picking up the prop that he wants to grab. So if you look at his hand, the thing just kind of floats toward his hand, and then he picks it up.
That's awesome.
It's one of those
not
things in a
notice that.
movie,
That's
like it's real stupid, but once you see it, you'll never not see it. It's like the hand that helps the guy in the raptor suit in Jurassic Park into the room, into the kitchen.
Yeah.
If you look real close, there's like a hand like gently pushing it into the room.
I always love those in movies. There's a scene in Young Guns where one of them is on a horse and he shoots the gun and the horse kind of rears back and you see a guy's hand come into frame in the corner, like reach for the horse and then go back out. It's wonderful. Yeah, so he meets his buddy, this hardware store owner. He's starting... I mean, he only seems to befriend people over the age of 70 in this movie, which is absolutely fantastic.
Except for Carrie Ann and the doc that we're about to meet.
Yeah.
And the doc, yes.
You know, it's really good to introduce your love interest like 40 minutes into the movie. I think it's a good...
Yeah.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah. This, first of all, I was shocked to see how long this movie was, because I was like, oh, it's an action movie where Patrick Swayze, like, kicks dudes and punches them. And I looked and I was like, this is almost 2 hours long. What the hell is going on with this movie? But it really does take a long time for things to unfold. But he does meet her. And I did refer to her as a sexy doctor. She's not sexy yet because her hair's braided and she has giant Sally Jesse Raphael glasses on at this point.
Right.
Well, she's in doctor mode. She's in doctor mode.
Right.
Yes, this is the classic, like, oh, their hair's back and they're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
They're just disgusting when they take off those glasses. It's like,
Yeah, then
we
she
joked about
shows up
this,
in a skin-tight dress at the bar, and it's like, whoa, hubba hubba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time I think was it this by the time this episode comes out, I think it's in I Know We Did Last Summer. We were talking about how like movies try to take like insanely attractive women and make them ugly by putting glasses on them and their hair back, and it's like, oh wow, that insanely beautiful woman is slightly more beautiful now that she let her hair down. Oh god.
I do like that he's got to go get before the beginning of the movie we see him stitch himself up.
Yes.
But apparently this cut maybe was a little too deep, maybe he just needed to meet his love interest. So he's got to get this stitched up. He brings his own medical file with him,
which includes his college education. It's like, oh, your file says you went to NYU for philosophy, and it's like, why is that in your medical file, you asshole?
I just assume it's his resume,
Yeah.
it's his medical file.
All
like he just
files.
got
It's all
his
files
corner
in
of
one.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, my birth certificate's in there. Don't worry
I'm
about it.
fine with him taking his medal if he's in this field. I don't know how accurate this is, but if he's in this field, he's traveling.
Yeah.
It's probably good to have those stuff on hand. For your doctor, especially back then when you couldn't, like, just
it wasn't
email it and
electronic.
stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Makes total sense. But why he would leave his college degree in there? Like, what the fuck
Like
is
I said,
that
I think it's
about?
just the title of the cars in there. It's an all file folder.
It's so wonderful too because it appears to be the only thing he brought with him too. Like he has nothing. There's no luggage. There's nothing he takes. Like I need a scene of him leaving Miami and like getting in the car and going, oh shit, and running back in the house to just get his little
The
file
only thing
folder.
he seems to own is a couple books and a really nice car that he does not drive often because it's too nice.
I love how he takes that car to the bar like the last day when he's like, I'm finally quitting. I'm finally moving on.
Yeah.
Time to drive this.
Also, if I remember correctly, they keep calling her Doc.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think they actually say her name till almost by the end. I think Jeff.
Well, in the
Jeff
credits,
Healy's
she's
character.
Doc, isn't she?
Huh?
Even in the credits, I think she's Doc.
Well, no, her name is Elizabeth, Dr. Elizabeth.
Okay.
What is it? Elizabeth Clay. But the whole movie they're calling her Doc, and I think it's not until like 20 minutes before the movies are done. Like Jeff Healy or Jeff Healy's like, oh yeah, Dr. Elizabeth Clay. And it's like, oh, is that her name?
Right. Yes.
Probably would have been good to know that name earlier.
I had read, and you're an expert, so you might know this. I had read that because they tried to do this movie, or that this was sort of a nod to Westerns, that all of the character names were names of people famous in the Wild West, like Doc, and even
that might be true.
Garrett, and I think even Dalton. They were all some sort of Wild West character, whether it was the first name or the last name. Each name was tied into some character from the Wild West.
That sounds 100% right. This does feel like a Western where, like, the hero wanders into town.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and he's got to clean up the rowdiness, and there's the bad. Totally.
Like there's a new sheriff in town, but he's actually a cooler.
Yeah.
Puts a lot of mousse in his hair, and he does Tai Chi. It's like, wait, what?
It's such a throwback. It's such a throwback to that, or like those 70s movies like Walking Tall, where it's just like a comically evil villain who has control of a town for some reason that nobody really explains at all.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
pretty
look,
much what's going
Walking
on.
Tall's good, but it's no Final Justice starring Joe Don Baker.
Oh, yes.
Have you
right.
seen that one?
Yes, I have.
This might be a spoiler, but that movie is getting a Blu-ray release, and I will have a commentary track on that Blu-ray
Are you
release.
serious?
Yes, which is actually ties back into Roadhouse. The Roadhouse has two commentary tracks, one with the director and then one with just Kevin Smith and his friend. This is back when Kevin Smith was actually funny. This is like
Right.
early, like mid or to early 2000s Kevin Smith. And he's like, hi, I have nothing to do with this movie. We just really love it, so we have a comment. It's one of the best commentary tracks I've ever heard. And I remember at the time being like, oh, that's so stupid and funny. And now I'm doing commentary tracks for movies that were made before I was born.
This is where we do find out that he went to school for philosophy, and I love how I was clued into the fact that he probably doesn't have a philosophy degree, and this is all just a lie, because she asked him what he studied, and his response is man's search for faith or that sort of shit. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is not the way a philosophy major would talk or explain what philosophy is.
I felt like he was downplaying, like he just didn't want her to know how smart
He's
he was.
too cool
Yeah.
for that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because later on he's like, yeah, I bring a lot of my, Eastern religion and philosophies into, what I study. We do see him doing Tai Chi later, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
this is when we're really introduced to the fact that this is, again, a bad town because people are casually driving a monster truck around this
Huge
town.
monster truck. Like,
Real quick, you forgot the greatest quote of all time is in this scene where she's like, "Do you
Of
enjoy
course.
pain?" And he's like, "Pain don't hurt." I'm
Yeah.
like, that's pretty fucking. You know how many times me and my friends have said that, like quoted that, like pain don't hurt.
Yep.
Like whenever we're about to do something that might turn out bad, it's like, don't worry, man, pain don't hurt. It'll be fine.
I've heard that
Live the
1,000
words of
times.
Dalton.
You had mentioned earlier you know stuff about women. Here's what I know about women.
Yeah.
I've never heard a woman talk about Roadhouse. He loves Roadhouse. Every dude I have ever spoken to loves Roadhouse. I have never heard a woman say word one
you
about
gotta
Roadhouse.
like talk to older women.
Okay, all right.
Like talk to someone who would be friends with your mom. Be like Roadhouse. Like, oh, I remember that one. It was a
Okay,
really
so
good one.
so
Like,
talk to women who specifically were like Patrick Swayze's in a movie, and I'm gonna go see it. I
Yes.
don't care what it is. Okay, got
which
it.
one? I think my girlfriend's mom. She was like at home with her one day, and her mom was just like, "Oh, Roadhouse is on." Just like she's like, "I've
That's
only ever
great.
heard two people excited for Roadhouse, my mom and you." And I'm like, "I'm really excited. I love Roadhouse."
That's awesome.
You don't understand. I don't think I'm making it clear. I have to go a long time not watching this movie because I get real into this movie. I'm like, I gotta stop watching. I gotta like take a break from Roadhouse because then I start working Roadhouse references into everything, and I'm like, all right,
it's
this is a
everywhere.
problem. I gotta stop. I gotta stop.
Wow. I feel like we just set you back about 5 years. You're really gonna have to work on this again.
Yeah, what was it? 2 years ago, when I was still reviewing movies on Cinemassacre, we reviewed Roadhouse, and I'm like, I need to get. And every time, I'm like, this is the last time. I'm gonna get everything
Gotta
I
get
need
some
to say
space
out.
between
and
me
then,
and Roadhouse,
And then every
yeah.
other time, I'm like, I have more to say about Roadhouse.
You're like some sort of bizarre addict, and we're like, it's not a bad thing. Well, just one more time.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right.
Dude, all right. So, last year, I got to play my favorite video game with the guy who designed the video game.
Awesome.
Cypher Filter, and my new goal is to review Roadhouse with the director of Roadhouse. I managed to get one. I think I could get another.
I feel
person to join.
it for you. Your enthusiasm for this movie is actually increasing my own enthusiasm for this movie. You should
Wow.
know that. Yeah.
Rowdy Harrington. Harrington, whatever your name is. If you're out there, please let's get together.
I think it could be a
I think
beautiful
you
thing.
just start driving to Montana and see if you can just stumble upon
Hi,
it somewhere.
have you seen a man with no children? He's married and has no children, and he made Roadhouse. And they're like,
They're like, oh, Rowdy. Yeah, we know Rowdy.
Yeah.
He lives right down the street there.
he's
Oh my God.
impotent. He's over there. Okay.
All right. So let's so now we really do truly meet the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Because this is where, everything went wrong. They couldn't stop Dalton from being in charge or whatever they're doing. They couldn't get the bartender's job back. So now they're back to talk to Ben Gazzara. And I love how Ben Gazzara just mercilessly beats the shit out of this one guy. And I was like, this is horrible. Why are you doing this, these poor guys?
Yeah, he just beats the shit out of the dude, and then he stands him up. He's like, you look good," and then he punches him.
And again, the
Right.
dude, he is so tiny compared to the dude, and he just takes him down.
Well, that's because he has so much power and
Yeah.
respect. It doesn't matter
True.
how he is physically. It's like a display of power. He's like, yeah, I'm a tiny guy. You could probably kill me, but I have so much power and respect. I'm just going to embarrass you
Yeah.
here and there.
I assume it was so surprising for him when Patrick Swayze punched him because no one's ever
Yeah,
punched the
yeah.
guy before. He's like, oh my god, somebody's actually fighting back.
The
I've
days
never
where
encountered
someone
this.
punched that guy are long gone by the time
Yeah.
he's at this point.
Now, this is also around the time where we find out what's happening here in that the hardware store owner, he's
Red.
being extorted for money. And apparently when they do shake this guy down for money, they also dump motor oil all over the floor of his place for no reason.
Very sloppy.
Right, Jimmy does it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I like how he like walks in and Jimmy gives him like this like loving look. Like there is some sexual tension between those two.
I don't know what they ask him. They ask Red, the owner of the hardware store, something like, "Who did this? You know, did Brad do this and his boys?" And he says, "Does a hobby horse have a wooden dick?"
And it's like, well, yeah, I guess that answers my question. That's a weird
I've
way
never
you did
thought
it.
about a hobby horse having a dick, but I guess it would be a wooden dick. I don't. Sure.
Yeah, maybe an anatomically correct hobby horse would. Maybe that horse from what was that? Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly the hobby horse
rocky
I was thinking. I was like, well, that horse
that
certainly
horse had a dick.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
that's such a weird fucking scene.
it's
That was like a
awesome.
cool movie that they just made real weird in post,
Got
but we're
very
not here to
weird.
talk about
Yep.
that.
I've already talked about that several times on several podcasts. That might be my Roadhouse for some reason. So now we've established the hero, the villain, the love interest, a quirky waitress, and I'm sitting there going, I thought I saw Sam Elliott's name in the credits here, and we're almost halfway through this movie.
It's like
And
Keith
finally-
David. You're like, I thought he was in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
And he kind of just calls him to bullshit, like just to shoot the shit, because he's like, hey, have you heard of this guy who like owns a town around Kansas City? He's like, nope. All right, bye. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, where is he? He's at a wet G-string contest.
Yes,
And
they
I'm
have
like-
crossed out the word T-shirt and just spray painted G-string.
And what does
Yeah,
that
and-
do for you exactly? Well, I guess I
Yeah,
understand.
no, because I'm thinking like, so the wet T-shirt, obviously it's like, oh, we can't show you their tits, but when
Yeah.
they're wet, you can see them. Like, cool, but like the G-string, I'm like, all right, I'm already seeing what I want to see. I don't know why you're gonna
Yeah.
add water to this.
I guess you wanted to be wet.
You know that's a way to get around the law, to be like, well, we can't have strippers here, but if we
If we
just
call it
say
the wet
it's a
G-string.
wet something contest.
That is real
cops
bizarre. Like,
can't
what else
bust
do they
us.
have that night? Like instead of mud fights, like, oh, we have wet sand fights.
Yeah.
We get a sandbox, put a lot of water in it. It's like, oh, that actually sounds pretty terrible, to be honest.
And I feel like, I guess I really haven't seen Sam Elliott in as much as I thought I had. I mean, I remember him in Mask, and I remember him in The Big Lebowski, and I'm sure I've seen him around, but his acting technique in this movie appears to be get as stoned as you possibly can before showing up on set and mumble through your lines.
It's great. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it.
No.
No,
it totally
it's
fits
just-
that character.
Yeah. I have to say, I enjoyed him.
Attitude. Yeah, his attitude and approach to everything that's happening is so great.
Even when he
in
gets
this
the
movie.
shit beat out of him, he's just like, ugh. And I love it. I wanted to have a beer throughout this whole movie with Sam Elliott, because he's always
Yeah.
just, we'll just have a beer and we'll think about it. We'll have a beer and we'll just get over it. We'll bleed with the beer. It'll be great.
Yeah. Kudos to Sam Elliott. There's so much like in this movie, like, oh, he's getting old. He's outlived 3 of the cast members in this movie.
Yeah.
He's outlived
You know,
he's outlived
Yeah.
what do you call it, Jeff Healy, Patrick Swayze. They died the same year, and then Ben Gazzara. It's like, oh, in real life, he's kind of kicking
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah. Because now we see, isn't this now when we see that the Double Deuce is the new and improved Double Deuce? It's like the
Yes.
makeover. It's like that show when the guy goes in and fixes the restaurant and makes it all better. Like this, we've got new front lighting. The parking lot's cleaned up. There's no more
Now-
cage over the band. Like
Now it looks lame.
yeah,
now
it
it looks
does.
lame.
It looks like a cheesy
It
club
looks
now.
it looks
It's not nearly
sterilized
as
and generic, and it's like, nah, give me back that shirtless guy in the cage.
Yeah,
That's
give me the
Roadhouse
character.
I like.
Yeah, the front of the place looks like a Red Robin or something like that. Like, it doesn't look all that great.
It
and
really does
and-
look like that.
And like you said, Jamie, I almost want a scene where Patrick Swayze is like, you see those booths? You got to rip those
Yeah.
things out of there. We got to mess with the lighting in this place. Like,
Yeah, well,
you
look,
know, just bouncing is only part of this.
To be fair, they established that it was the owner, Tillman. He had this plan for a while.
Oh yeah, because he does show
blueprints.
them a chalkboard plan, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they had to get the cooler involved in order to get this going. It's like, all right, I don't know about that.
It's such a bizarre movie in that I don't understand what Ben Gazzara's end game is with, like, shouldn't Ben Gazzara, a guy who's got his fingers in every stupid pie in this town, be happy that this place is doing a lot of business? Like, he could probably just wait for Patrick Swayze to leave, shake this guy down for some money,
And
like,
then get
play
extra
the long
dough,
game,
right.
dude. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Reinstate your shitty nephew as the bartender after he leaves.
I
Ben
think
Gazzara's, his character, Brad Wesley. He doesn't like to mess with these people. He doesn't. Yeah,
he's
wants
got
things on his
control
terms.
issues. He's got control issues.
He does. He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
The hot doctor shows up. Now she's hot because she's wearing basically nothing. She looks like a skeleton. This woman is so thin.
Is
like,
this the picnic blanket dress?
Yes,
Yes.
it definitely is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
And
Before this
afterwards
is
he
when the
takes her-
boot
oh,
happens,
yeah.
right?
This is when what happens?
Oh, the boot with the razor blade.
Yeah,
in
the
it?
razor boot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
'Cause this is
I rewatched The Dark Knight on 4K Blu-ray, and I remember the Joker had a knife that comes out of his boot. I'm pretty sure that was a Roadhouse reference.
Oh
Pretty sure.
yeah.
Pretty sure Christopher Nolan watched that. He's like, ah, yes, I know what I will have my Joker do.
I assume Rowdy's watching that going, I know where you got that.
Yeah,
I know-
Rowdy's
I
like, oh,
understand.
I just saw that new Batman movie. I know where he took that. He took my idea.
So they sort of go on a date to a shitty diner, and this is when we said earlier he comes back. She drops him off by his car. There's a stop sign shoved
right, yeah.
like through,
And he
his
just lifts
car.
it out like it's like somebody left a note on it or something.
Yeah,
He's
he
just like,
stands it up and like
yeah.
poses next to it as she drives away, which is great.
Oh, real quick. One of the deleted scenes I remember during like the whole like making the bar better. Apparently, there was like a scene where Dalton was trying to train the bouncers by making them do ballet. And he
Oh
had them
yeah, you
dress
said the
like-
ballet.
Yeah,
that,
yeah, he had to dress like ballerinas, I guess, to make them move gracefully over the bar or something. I forget the specifics, but it's like not in the movie, and I don't know why deleted scenes for this movie do not exist. Like, I would give anything to see these.
That's got to be
Oh, yeah.
magnificent, actually.
Yeah.
And it would have added a nice little levity to the whole thing, is like a little montage of his training program and the
Yeah.
ballet. Like, I would have taken that gladly.
I really would have, because
No, Doug, you wanted
this-
more sex. We know. You wanted a
No,
longer
I
scene.
did, but just listen, just because I want more sex, a steamier sex scene, does not mean I also don't want ballet in my movie.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll take both. Why can't we have all of it?
I'm like Googling it. I'm trying to see if there's even a picture of it, but there just fucking isn't.
Anyway, this is where Dalton is approached by these toughs, and they bring him to meet the big bad guy of the
Oh,
town.
right.
And he sort of sits down, like, he knows all about Dalton, and he's like, oh, I know you killed that guy,
Yeah.
but you said it was self-defense, but you really loved killing
Oh,
him,
wait.
didn't
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Like, it's such a long,
I
drawn-out
like it
scene
too.
that goes nowhere between the two of them.
There's that lady that later does the strip tease that she's got the black eye and she's working out in there. 'cause
Right,
she's-
right.
Why did she get the black eye? Oh, what did she?
He,
oh,
like,
because she was
slapped her, I
coming
guess,
on
for, like,
to.
flirting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he put her in her
Yeah, the-
place. Put her in
Yeah.
her place, and he doesn't
Yeah,
like
she
her
was-
music.
Yeah. Yes, that's
she
when,
was-
when he yells to her, like,
Yeah.
shut that off.
That
You-
is a I'm blanking on her name. That is a stunt woman. She was like Pamela Anderson's stunt woman for a while.
Oh, really?
She's also
okay.
in. She's
She was
also
in Point
the
Break,
the
wasn't she?
FBI agent that. Huh?
Wasn't she in Point Break?
She might have been in Point Break
Yeah.
also. She's also the FBI agent in Jason Goes to Hell that has to lure Jason to get
Oh.
blown up in the beginning of the film. Why do I know
Oh,
that? Who the
okay.
fuck knows?
No. That's great, and I do, And first of all, don't ever hit women, people. But
Well,
I
I
love how
mean,
this guy.
well. I mean, are they hitting
She's-
you or?
Well, she's no. It's she's standing right next to this guy who brought her to this bar. car, and she turns to Patrick Swayze and is like, "Hey, what if I asked you to like go with me and fuck? Like that's cool, right?"
Yeah.
And this guy's like, "I think it's about time for us to go right now."
Oh wait, that was the nipple to nipple line, right?
Yes, it was a little bit after
Why
that, but
don't
it's
we
the same
go
moment. Yeah.
get nipple to nipple? And then she says, "I could do that on my own or something." It's like,
Yeah.
Do that without you.
What
I don't
the
need
fuck?
you for that.
I don't think I've ever used that line. I'm actually shocked I haven't. Just going up here, I'm like, "Hey, want to get nipple to nipple?" And it's like, "Wait, what? What the
Now
fuck does
that's
that
hot.
mean?"
That is hot.
Yes,
Is
yes.
it?
Surprisingly, it's not a good pickup line.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. So now, yeah, as we said, Keith David's the new bartender.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when he takes the doc back to his place
Ooh.
and puts on some sexy tunes.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, I
wait,
like
and
it. Was
her
this when
uncle
she
is
turns
the
on the
hardware
radio and she
store
makes the face like, no,
owner?
not that.
She's like, "No, I don't like
Yeah.
that heavy metal stuff. Like, put on more blues rocks because that's
Yeah.
the worst. That's what this movie
Play
is all
some
about."
Otis Redding. That gets me out. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And she's the niece of the hardware store owner
It's a
because he
small
says
town.
like, I saw a picture of you in the hardware store, and I don't remember seeing a picture.
Do you think the scene would have been better with Annette Bening? Because apparently she originally was in this
Oh.
movie.
Oh.
And from what I'm reading is like she just had no chemistry, so they fired her from the movie.
Oh really?
Wow.
I
Yeah,
could-
because you know, when I see Kelly Lynch and Patrick Swayze, I'm like, oh, just nothing but chemistry there.
yeah, the
Right,
sparks they
yes.
fly. She does look uncomfortable at parts. I would have liked to hear her. See.
She looks uncomfortable at parts through the whole movie.
Yeah.
She looks like she
No,
does
but in the
not wanna
love
be
scene
there.
especially, there's parts where she's just looking uncomfortable,
Yeah.
like, oh, you're gonna touch my ass. Okay. And that's why when you were saying before that she's joking about her hair and everything like that, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure she's joking about some other things too.
You're kind of looking off camera at the director like, this is cool,
Yeah.
right? I mean, is this all
Apparently,
right?
Bill Murray, Bill Murray, whenever he sees this movie on TV, he'll call her husband Mitch Glazer and just like make fun of them. Like, "Hey, Roadhouse is on. I'm at the sexy."
That's wonderful.
Wow. He must have called her at least 5 times a day in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
It's like on TBS all the time, I think. So, yeah, I just felt like we said, they didn't really have any chemistry. And then they sit out after they have sex, and they have just like a bland, uninteresting conversation. And I don't want to say that Sam Elliott's sort of the same way, but I feel like later on when Sam Elliott shows up, I was expecting him to like inject something into this movie, but it stops. Like this movie grinds to a halt so they can hang out at a diner for way too long and talk about things that I don't care
It's
about.
to humanize them so you care about these rich characters, you asshole.
You're right, good point.
A lesser man would have just made it all about the action and stuff, but no. Rowdy Harrington, he was like, "No, I need you to really care about these characters."
Well, and we get a little taste. This is when we find out that Dalton was married before. And
That's
that
right.
and that's why. So there's a rumor that he's killed a man before, and we find out he killed the man because the man pulled a gun on him. And now what I think we're supposed to piece together is because Sam says something to the effect of like, "Well, you didn't know that she was married. She didn't say that." So was it that it was his girlfriend's? So it's Dalton's girlfriend's husband
Yes.
that he then killed because he pulled a gun on him.
Yes.
Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it
I think-
appears that he was fooling around with a married woman, unbeknownst to
No,
him.
he didn't
Yes.
know. She didn't disclose that information.
And of course, he apparently, I think it's assumed that this is the guy whose throat he ripped out.
Yes. It all happens. Yeah.
And I wanted to make like a film years ago, like a fan film, because I'm insane, where it's like it's the prequel to Roadhouse, but the person he kills is his character from Dirty Dancing. Like he breaks up him and Baby. But I don't think that because Dirty Dancing takes place in what, like the 50s?
Yeah.
I don't think the timeline
Yeah.
would have worked. Maybe it could have worked out. He could have been into an older woman. I don't know.
Fine, worst case scenario, he finds a time machine. Whatever.
I know. We
however
could
this
pull a
makes
doc.
sense.
Yeah. We could get another doc involved. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the 3 of them are all hanging out because now we have these 3 characters in this movie.
Oh,
And-
oh,
oh,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
When Wade Garrett, when he shows up to the double do, she calls it.
Yeah,
They're
which
like,
I
the
love.
bad guys are like breaking all the alcohol. He's like, you're not allowed.
Oh, yeah, that's
or
right.
they'll-
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love they're beating the shit out of Patrick Swayze, and like Wade Garrett shows up. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Dalton?" like,
Yeah.
like it's just a totally normal thing. It's like, "Oh, how you
Yep.
doing? Oh, you're in some trouble again, aren't you?"
I do love how convenient it is that the one time these guys get a leg up on him, it just Sam Elliott happens to show up because he has had no issue fighting
None.
anyone.
No,
in
he's
this
taken
movie
them all
up to
down.
this point.
Yeah. But now they're coming because they don't want the bar to distribute any more alcohol. They're limiting
Right.
the alcohol sales.
Right.
And then, so, but
And-
Wade turns up just in time. What about the weird thing when they're showing off their scars and Wade stands up?
I'm
and
glad you
shows-
brought it up. I really wanted to talk about his crotch. Yeah, so they're like talking about scars, and Wade Garrett's like, "Oh, I got stabbed here," and he like unzips his pants. He's just freeballing it. Everyone's freeballing and raw dogging in this film.
That's
It's
you,
like,
who
yeah,
needs
check out
it?
this
You don't
scar.
need
I'm
it.
like, that's fucking. If I was on a second date with a woman. And my friend's like, "Hey, let me show you my crotch." And like, I'd be like, "Hey."
And then the
did you not?
next minute, he's dancing with her and like telling
Yeah.
her when she's like, "Oh, you're wishing me luck with your friend." He's like, "No, I'm serious. I want you for my own." Like, and I'm very serious.
I taught Dalton how to cuck people. I'm really
Yeah.
into it. I'm the master. I taught him how to be a cooler and how to cuck people.
Yeah. After this dickhead gets thrown in jail for ripping some dude's throat out, which I assume will happen, you can come
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah. And she's not even like, and apparently they've been up all night too, because at some point she says, like, "I got to get to bed, guys. Like, I might have a shift at some point."
She's like, I am a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I have other shit to do. We've been out all night. It's clearly the next
Yeah.
day. We're drinking beer for breakfast at a diner. I gotta go. I'm responsible.
Thanks for the dance, Wade.
Right?
It's like, oh yeah, she ended up killing like 5 people at the hospital that day.
Yeah, exactly, because she's all
She
hungover.
misprescribed them stuff
Yeah.
and they all overdosed.
So now, I don't mean to speed through stuff, but there are 2 things that happen here that I want to talk about. The hardware store burns down / explodes.
Oh, it's because there's got
And
all that
just
oil
like-
in it.
2 scenes later, they drive a monster truck through the car dealership. So I don't know why any of this is happening.
Because they're
You know
not
what's
paying
funny?
their bills. Those owners are not paying up.
You know what's funny? This town, as far as I can tell, it consists of just a few things. two houses that are right across the river from each other. 2 big establishments that are right across the street from each other. A fucking car dealership.
Yeah,
They go to someone's house at some point.
but also the line to get into the Double Deuce is a mile
Oh, yeah.
long later in this
Yeah.
movie. I'm like, how many people are in this small town?
come
Also,
from
when
all
they
towns.
blew up Red's bar, like it's so clearly it's just a big or Red's hardware
store,
It's
yeah.
so clearly just like a hollow building. Like it's like it's so like that is just a big.
Yes.
There's just 4 walls just barely strung together, blown up. And I think there was another scene here where Brad Wesley was like threatened. And we forgot Brad Wesley is trying to justify his actions.
Oh,
He
yeah.
thinks he's a benefit to the town because
Yeah.
he brought so much business there. I
Right.
don't know if you know this, but J.C. Penney is coming there because of him.
I love it when he
Ask
says,
anyone,
"I want
they'll tell
J.C.
you.
Penny?
It's
like-
like, ooh, in about 2008, that's not going to go
Yeah.
well for this town.
But yeah, and I think this is like when he makes the girl dance or whatever. But yeah, so we can speed
Yeah.
it up a little bit. Yeah, the monster truck.
But why the mod? Like, and somebody just mentions at one point, like, he's got the whole sheriff's office in his pocket. I'm like, the guy drove a monster truck through a car dealership, and everyone has seen that. Does it really matter if you have the police force in your pocket?
Yeah, at some point you can like contact the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Like there are
Right,
other
yes.
authorities you can like. Hey, I think Internal Affairs. You might want to look into this. Like they're letting them get away with a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love this. Is just like this is that wonderful era where you could say something like, "Oh yeah, what if the guys just like drive around in a monster truck and they go through a bar?" And someone's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool."
Yeah,
Put it-
they could do
like
that,
if you
yeah.
were to put that in a movie now, it would be like oh, look how over the top and wacky we are. No, isn't this fun? They would draw attention to it. But no, this movie is like, yeah, they have a monster truck. They decided to drive it through the woods. That's the vehicle of choice.
Who doesn't have a monster truck in a small town? It's what people know.
Yeah.
But this really, and I love it how this whole thing is what pushes Patrick Swayze over the edge. Because now we see him in what should have been a training montage scene.
Yeah.
Like, I love how he's in the barn and he's hitting a heavy bag and then climbs a rope to get up to the second level where he hits another heavy bag for a while. And that's kind of the extent of his training.
Now he's angry training. They
Right.
we skipped over it, but they foreshadowed this with this peaceful training where he's doing Tai Chi.
Right.
The Tai
And
Chi,
then Emmett is like, oh my god, like even he's amazed. and then Brad Wesley's driving around on a 4-wheeler and he stops at the thing and he's like, ha, that guy doing Tai Chi. But now this is like the opposite because now he's just angry. He's not doing Tai Chi anymore. He's fucking hitting things.
And then,
He's so sweaty.
then what happens? He's very sweaty. Sam Elliott is there to try and talk some sense into him. He doesn't listen to him. His lady friend, the doc, shows up just in time for the house. For some reason, they decide to blow up the house. Not the barn where he's staying.
No, Emmett's
not
house.
try and murder the man who's giving him a lot of trouble.
I will say though, this is this is being genuine. Again, cinematography. This nice wide shot where you can see the house in the back, her acting mixed with the pyrotech. Like that was all in camera. If she stumbled on a line, they would have been fucked. But that is all just like who's gonna save them? Although I am kind of confused. She's like, "Oh, you think you can save this town from him? Who's gonna save them from you?" And it's like, I don't think Dalton's gonna go around killing people. But yeah, so she does that line. She screams, and like right on cue, they destroy that house in this beautiful explosion. I'm like, man, there's so many ways that could have went wrong, and I'm so happy that shot went right. I would have anxiety if I was directing this.
Oh, sure.
I would have it's like that scene in Tropic Thunder where they light all the pyrotechnics, but no one's rolling.
But it's what's also wonderful is the house appears to be decimated.
Yeah.
But he is able to save.
He goes in like a firefighter, like backdraft or something.
Yeah.
And carries him out like a baby.
And he pulls him out. He's wearing like a
His
fucking
long nightgown,
giant red long johns. It's really great. And he really does now look like Santa.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It was wonderful.
And then this is when Jimmy reveals himself on his motorcycle, and he does the bad guy.
Oh, yes, he does.
And I've recreated this fight before with friends. I fucking love.
Oh my god.
This fight it's shot so well. The choreography is so great. Fucking Patrick Swayze. So he was trained. Patrick Swayze was trained by a famous martial artist. I can't remember his name, but he's in a lot of Jackie Chan movies.
Okay.
And he's the one who taught him. He's like, in the behind the scenes, he's like, yeah, I saw he was a dancer, so I made sure all his fight moves had a kind of dance sort of move to it. So that's why he's kind of like this the whole time. And that's kind of like that amazing jump he does over there. Somehow he catches up with the motorcycle and just like tackles him off of it. But yeah, this fight scene is awesome.
It's a wonderful fight scene.
Yes.
And it really is like, it's shot so well because it's at night.
Yes.
The light's very low.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first, I think, external fight scene that we've seen in this movie, too.
They fought outside the bar a little bit, but this is the first like really big one.
Not in nature, not around water and trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of things you can pull out in the fight, like knives, guns, telling people you're a homosexual, and Jimmy does all three.
Jimmy came with his A game.
One of the best line I think in this movie is where he goes, "I used to fuck guys like you in prison." And that's really like Patrick Swayze was losing this fight, and suddenly he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like
is this guy possibly gay? I can't lose this fight now.
By the way, they never say his first name, Dalton's first name, but if you look at his file, it's James Dalton, and then the bad guy's name is Jimmy, so it's like that's his evil counterpart. Like, Jimmy and James, they're going after each other.
That's awesome.
But yeah, this is the infamous throat rip scene. And when you watch like the behind the scenes stuff, like they get to that part and like every actor was like, yeah, we thought that was a little. Even Patrick Swayze is like, yeah, I don't know that part. I was like, that seems a little far fetched.
Because they
But
really
apparently-
actually do make it like
Yeah.
like it's his throat, like it's his. And what I mean, I should know this. I'm a speech therapist, but is it the larynx? Like, is it the what part of the throat exactly? Did Adam's apple? Did he just take his Adam's apple?
Yeah.
Did
I
Jimmy
think
have an
once you
Adam's
start
apple?
digging around in the throat, it really doesn't matter what you rip
Yeah.
out. Like, you're in big trouble.
Did he go in for
apparently-
the tonsils? I don't know. Go ahead.
Apparently
Tonsils.
they included it because apparently it was like this rumor that went around that actually happened somewhere, but I've never
Oh.
seen
Oh,
it.
my God.
I've never seen anyone prove it.
Oh yeah, no.
It is an interesting scene because it really is. Patrick Swayze just murders a guy.
He
just
legit does murder. And the funny
After.
thing,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you go.
I was gonna say I like how he drags him then across the water and it's like, Brad, God, look who I have. He's just screaming for Brad to like come and
Fuck
see.
you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So he's fine with murder. We're
Yeah.
about to see him murder everyone. Why doesn't he just swim across the pond, climb up Brad's
care of
wall,
the
and just
Ben and
murder him right there? Like, why? Because then I'm like, but where did he go after this? Like, the bad guy's right there. Just go
Yeah,
over there
yeah.
and kill him. Like, what the fuck?
I imagine he and the doc and the old man snuggled up in that bed up in the loft and had a good night's sleep after all this.
I'm guessing they took him to the hospital because if they called the cops, they'd be like, "Hey, what's with the dead body floating in the water?"
Right. Right.
Oh, he got into a motorcycle accident. It was like, really? Because it looks like his throat's ripped out. Like,
Because
yeah,
it looks like
that happens.
He wasn't wearing a helmet. So this is also, after all this goes down, he gets a phone call from Ben Gazzara. And I love how Ben Gazzara's on the phone and is like, who am I going to murder? Your best friend or your girl?
Oh,
Hold
yeah.
on, let me flip a
Yeah.
coin. And he literally flips a coin. I'm like, he can't see what you're doing.
Well, he doesn't
You're
tell
on the
him. He
phone.
doesn't tell him
Just
which one it
fake
is.
Because he doesn't even tell him what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what's heads? What's tails? What's happening right here?
Yes. And what I love about this. Oh, did we mention Brad Wesley used to date Doc?
I think they said he was just really into her. I don't think
okay.
they said they ever dated.
Okay. So
But
I love.
yeah, this old man was.
Yeah.
This old man's really into this woman who's young enough to be his granddaughter.
So I mean that doesn't stop old men.
No, I know.
I love this next series of scenes. So he goes to the bar. Wade Garrett shows up and he's all beat up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh man, they jumped me. Oh my god, they kicked my ass. He's like, we got to get out of this town, Wade.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna get. He's like, I'm gonna get the doc and we're leaving. So he leaves Wade, who's horribly injured, behind as he goes to the hospital. And I'm like, I don't know. I
that's
feel
true.
like
You're not gonna bring your friend to your doctor friend. You're not. This is the
Yeah.
perfect ample time for them to meet and not just
I mean,
dance
maybe-
and drink. Yeah.
maybe he doesn't have insurance, but I don't know. He's like, yeah, I'll just stay and drink. So then the doctor's like, no, you're a monster. I am not. By the way, I have a job. I can't just up and fucking
Yeah.
leave.
Right.
It's like, you got to give me like 2 weeks or something. And then he goes back to the bar, and then the bad guys finally finished off his murder. And then they leave the
And
note.
I love the note.
His kids.
The handwritten note knifed to his back on a piece of loose leaf paper, to like notebook paper, because it's got the frayed edges on it.
Is no one else at this bar? Why is only the cooler there after hours?
Yeah, right?
I don't know. And again, Ben Gazzara, we have been expressly told that you have the police force in your pocket.
Yeah.
He just murdered a man. Can't you have him arrested?
Yeah,
Problem solved.
But he
Done.
also
you
loves
could have him.
crime. So
Okay,
remember,
that's a
he
good
this is a
point.
guy so evil that when
loves
he
crime.
drives his car, he sings to himself and drives in both lanes.
Oh, yes,
So-
that's right. We saw that. When he just blindly almost just driving his red convertible around. Yeah.
One of the weirdest details in this movie,
Yeah.
which I was like, well, that's an interesting scene that they just shoved in here.
But yeah, this is the all
Yeah.
bets are off moment. Like Dalton's ready, and they're ready for
Yeah.
Dalton. They like
Yeah.
fortified the fucking mansion.
It really is like the end of Jamie. You'll remember this. The end of Commando, when he just goes in
Yeah.
and decides that he now has to just kill everyone.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot less people at this mansion than Commando, but it's kind of what he does. Just coming in is like, that's it, all bets are off. I am killing everyone I see.
And then he sacrifices his beautiful car. He drives his car,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like, but he's not in it. He uses
Yeah.
the knife that was used to kill Wade Garrett, who I assume is just decaying on the fucking bar. I don't know if he let anyone know. He used that to like put the gas pedal down, and somehow the car was able to steer itself in the right direction.
Keith David showed up and is like, what the fuck is going on here? I gotta clean this up now.
Yeah, so I love there's like that big explosion and stuff, and then he's just taking people out like a ninja.
Yeah.
He's like
Yep.
fucking Batman in this scene.
Yeah. He is.
And my biggest complaint is that we didn't have like an exaggerated fight scene with Terry Funk. I don't think we do.
No. When does he take care of it? He kind of just beats the hell out of him when they're delivering the booze, right? Is
Yeah,
that the last
yeah,
time you see
but,
him,
like-
or do we see him here?
Yeah, I think they just like he's around with the gun, and then I think he's just passed out on the floor, and it's like, oh, I would have liked to have seen that fight scene with the wrestler. Like that's kind
Yeah.
of the guy. Kind of reminds me of the first John Wick, like Kevin Nash. The wrestler has a cameo, and it's like, oh, cool, he's gonna fight Kevin Nash, famous wrestler, and then nothing happened.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
oh, okay.
know. I understand that we just had a big fight scene with a throat rip, but
Yeah.
you've had fight scenes through the whole movie. Like, have another great one at the climax of
No,
this.
we gotta wait
and
for
not just-
the Ben Gazzara fights.
This was wild. How Ben Gazzara, first of all, one-ups him and appears to be almost ready to kill him. And I love how the small business owners.
Oh,
in
this is
town-
great. They stand
Oh,
up
wait,
for themselves.
Okay. But before the business owners, I like Ben Gazzara doing his like fucking the Emperor Palpatine thing where he's trying to get Dalton on the evil side.
Oh, yeah. You can work for me.
Yeah, he's like, you can work for me. He's like, oh, why do you care about Wade? He was old. Jimmy was young. You took Jimmy. And I'm like, I don't think you're winning over any favors. And of course, they are fighting in what we talked about, the trophy room. And I've always said this. I think what's it called? Brad Wesley went hunting in a zoo.
Oh, yeah. Because the
Yeah,
animals.
like he went to that town the town of Jasper must have had a zoo at one point, and just Brad Wesley went in with a handgun, and just shot all of them point blank. He has every goddamn animal on Earth. He has like fucking penguins, monkeys,
And fully stuffed, too. Not just head mounted on the walls. We've got full stuffed on display.
yeah,
Just,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only thing missing
Yeah.
is Dalton's ass.
He even has like tribal spears that he uses.
I love it when he pulls the spears out. He's like, "Well, I might not have the same moves as you, but I've got my spears that I can hack into you with."
Yeah.
I also love how the chubby guy is so scared of this animal trophy room. Like, he feels that this place is haunted.
like, "I hate this
and I
place."
think
And then
he
the polar-
thinks this bear is after him.
The polar
Yeah,
bear
I
just
think he-
falls on him. But yeah, I love when they're fighting. Fucking Ben Gazzara's like, I can fight, but I'm just too busy. I'm gonna have to kill you.
Yeah.
But then Dalton,
well,
this is the
I have
most
this
amazing-
handgun, so it's much easier this way.
Yeah, Dalton like gets him, and he's about to do the throat rip again. And doesn't
got his-
Doc show up for this scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Don't do it, even though you just
He's got
killed
his,
like
like,
15 people."
Throat.
Yeah,
he's got
why
his
would you kill the
throat-ripped
worst guy
hand,
here?
His
Yeah.
fingers are in the throat rip clench. Like, this is terrible.
And he has a whole minute where you see him kind of thinking it over, like, "Am I this
Yeah.
guy? Am I going to continue this life?" It's like he has
It's like,
this
well, yeah,
epiphany.
you're kind of in it now. You just killed
Yeah,
him.
exactly. Look around, buddy. And this is the guy you want to get. But he stops himself. He grows a
but as I
conscience.
said, he isn't the one who kills
Oh,
him.
no.
No.
It's one small business owner after the other who take turns. Just first of all, popping into the scene, just showing
Yeah.
up.
And I love Ben Gazzara's like last words. He's like, "It's over." It's like, okay. He just gets shot by everyone. And
Right.
apparently, this actually did happen in some town. There was some town that the townspeople hated. I've never actually fact checked this, but this is like this is the urban legend, I guess.
Sounds
Yeah,
good. Let's go
let's
with
do
it.
There was a town that like people hated the one guy for whatever reason. He was screwing them over, so he apparently got shot in broad daylight. But when the cops were questioning people, everyone said they didn't see anything.
Oh, well, because this is their all reaction. They said
Yeah,
they
they
didn't
kind
see
of
it,
just,
yeah.
like, who knows? It's probably an urban legend, but they definitely got it from something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently they were just
I love
like,
that if this happened, the people in the town were like, he promised to bring J.C. Penney to this
Yeah.
town. He never did. That's why we killed him.
J.C. Penney's like, Brad Wesley's dead. Deal's up.
Jasper is no more. So he's killed. We do hear the cops come, and like you said, the cops show up, and everybody's like, I don't know what happened here. It's like, well, this is going to lead to some investigation. Like, you're all going to be brought in. Someone's going to flip at some
You're all at
point.
the scene of multiple murders, and like,
Yeah.
there's still. I assume some of the henchmen are still alive, maybe.
Yes, they're all just yucking it up with each other. Like, it is such
And of course,
a
the one
bizarre-
henchman's like, "Polar bear fell on me,"
Oh, yeah.
and the cops aren't like, "Okay, well, up until that point, what happened before the polar bear?"
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Oh, well, Dalton drove onto our property and started killing us."
Yeah.
Polar bear fell on me. He does look at monkeys, which is a weird
They're doing
final
the
shot.
Hear No
Like,
Evil, See No
Oh,
Evil.
yeah,
yes,
the Hear No
exactly.
Evil, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just so funny how he just falls in line after that, and it's like, well, I guess all my friends are dead. I could be cool.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
And that's it. Like, that is how Roadhouse.
It ends with the song, and it
ends.
ends with Dalton and Doc swimming naked in the water
Oh,
while
yeah.
blind Jeff Healy sits on the river bank, and it's like, why is he there? What is he doing?
He's just their musical accompaniment.
Serenading.
I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
play
They're-
the guitar while you guys fucking the pond over there.
Yeah, they're naked. They're playing around. He's fake drowning her. It's fun.
Yes, playful and hilarious. At the end of the show, what we do is just sort of give our final thoughts. I mean, Tony, I don't even know if I have to ask you
Yeah,
how
I
you feel
think
about
we
this.
know.
movie.
Well, I
You
think I made
it
it very clear.
clear.
Yeah, abundantly.
Great film. I need to get it on Blu-ray. I don't own it on Blu-ray yet. Really,
I am shocked. When you said DVD extras, I was like, what are you doing, dude? This has been released at least 3 times.
yeah. Well,
on Blu-ray.
I remember getting the special edition of DVD at the time. I think I actually know the guy who released the newest Blu-ray release. I want to say this is the greatest film ever made. You should all watch it. But I want to warn everyone. Never fucking watch Roadhouse 2.
Oh.
Avoid it at all
Oh,
costs.
is there two? Is Swayze
yes.
in it? Is Swayze in the second one?
Swayze is fucking not in it, but
Oh, yeah.
his son that you never knew existed
What?
is in it. Yes.
Paul Swayze?
Wait.
Who?
Yeah, he had
Wait a minute. How long after this does the next one take place? And is this just a random son that's like 12, 13 years
So,
old?
so
at the
no.
time of
It's
this
like
movie?
an adult
Oh,
man.
oh.
It came out early 2000s.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
quite a while
What's his?
after. All right.
That one actor is a really good actor. Plays Dalton's brother, and he
Oh,
like
God.
has it's in like the Louisiana, New Orleans, and
Okay.
Dalton's son, who I guess was from a previous fling, not related to Doc,
Wow.
is taking up the family business of being a
Ugh.
cooler, and he has to fight the local crime lord Jake Busey.
Okay, wait, hold on, no.
Oh. This is-
I
I
might
do-
be kind of into this.
I do
now.
like
don't-
Jake Busey, but okay.
Does Gary Busey make? He's not in it.
He does
right?
not, but I have a
doesn't.
fun fact about Gary Busey and Roadhouse. No, so Jake Busey, he's the bad guy in it, and the movie's awful. It's direct-to-video.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And then, first off, Dalton's dead in the movie.
What?
I know. I thought like he was so
Aw.
philosophical, he would like hack reality and live forever. Because
Right?
he like figured it out. He's like, I know how to. through meditation, I am forever. Anyway, no, he's dead, and then you find out Jake Busey murdered him in between movies.
Oh.
And I was like, no, fuck you. But
I kind of love and hate that. Like, I would like it better, like you said, if he died, but he managed to possess someone else, and it wasn't like his son; it was just some person
His spirit was
embodied.
there. Or like his image came and spoke to the son. You know what I mean? Throughout the movie.
I also like how they're like, you know what we didn't have enough of in the regular Roadhouse? It wasn't hot or sweaty enough. Let's set this one in Louisiana.
Swampy. We need it to be swampier.
Right.
Oh, it's called Roadhouse 2 Last Call. Fuck, what's his name?
Right.
Oh, Will Patton is in it. He has a fight scene in the film where you can clearly see his stunt double's face every time they cut the wide shot.
Okay.
And then
I always
thing,
like that.
the last thing about Busey, Patrick Swayze was supposed to be in Predator 2 as the Gary Busey character, but he got injured on Roadhouse and he wasn't able to be in the film, so he got replaced by so he gets replaced by Gary Busey in Predator 2, and then he gets killed off by fucking Jake Busey afterwards. Why does the Busey family have it out for Dalton?
I don't know. I have to say, though, Gary Busey in Predator 2, better decision. I really don't think I would have enjoyed that movie with Patrick Swayze in it.
I'll give you that unless it was Patrick Swayze as Dalton. And then in which case
okay.
he should have been
In
the
which
star of the
case,
film.
it's all you, yeah.
He just rips out the Predator's throat at the end, and
Yeah,
you're like,
you
well,
know
I
what?
saw
That-
that
you know
coming
what?
a
I
mile
would-
away.
You know what? You watch Predator 1, you're like, man, Arnold might not make it out of this. But if you put Dalton against the Predator, like, oh, man, I feel bad for that Predator. He's dead.
So, Jamie, how did you feel about this? I mean, I already said that women don't talk about Roadhouse. That doesn't mean they don't like it.
Oh,
What
well,
did you feel?
I have to say, talking about it in this context, and especially with the amped up, I mean, Tony, you could make a person love this movie.
Yes.
But
I've tried many times.
I see
many,
how
many times.
your enthusiasm and talking about it's a lot of fun, but it's not my type of movie. I don't love it the way you love it. I'm glad to have seen it because I had never seen it. Even I remember it being on TBS and on TV, and it just I didn't ever find Patrick Swayze attractive. He's just not my type of dude. So I think that
We already talked about that when we did Dirty Dancing. I was like, what are you talking about,
he's just not
Jamie?
dreamy
What?
to me. And I think that was another reason why I was like, oh, this is a sexy Patrick Swayze movie. Growing up, and then so yeah, this was my first time seeing it. Not my type of movie, but definitely enjoyed this conversation and definitely.
You know, it's funny when we were on Cinemassacre Rental Reviews. James, the angry video game nerd, he kind of went the same way. He's like, I didn't want to see this movie. Patrick Swayze, it seemed like like Dirty Dancing or something. But then he watched the movie. He's like, I had no fucking idea how fucking awesome this movie was. Like it blew his mind. He's like, this movie's great.
And I think, I mean, we don't really have a whole lot of guests on this show, and so every now and then it's fun. Jamie and I disagree on movies, but the great thing about having guests on is I get to disagree with the guests sometimes because I feel like I'm in Jamie's camp with this. It was way more fun to talk about than to watch. This movie was built up so much because everybody loved, like, everyone. If you were between the ages of 30 and 50 and you're a dude, you fucking love Roadhouse and you can't stop talking about it.
Yep.
And it didn't live up to that for me. If this was a tight 90 minutes, I think I would have enjoyed it a whole lot more than I did pushing 2 hours.
No, I want a 3-hour cut of this movie.
I understand that you do, but there's just so much that's unnecessary in this movie. But I do have to say it was a hell of a lot of fun to talk about. Like, I have way more fun talking
There's
about
a great I wish this stuff was still easy to find. Roger Ebert used to have like a website with video versions of his old like episodes, and they're harder to find now. I don't know what happened to that archive, but I went back and I watched the Roadhouse review, and he says like a really cool thing. He's like, this movie's pretty ridiculous. I haven't seen a movie in a long time where the bad guys say, hey, boss. But he says, he's like, look, it's not a very good movie. And then he stresses, he's like, but it's not a boring movie. He's like, it's a very entertaining film. He's like, technically, I should not like this. But even Roger Ebert was like, this movie's kind of winning me over. I like it.
Yeah. I could see that, but again, there were times, and I feel like this is, if I'm watching this movie with a couple people, I think it'd be way more fun than me sitting down watching this with a cup of coffee in the morning. That is not the way to watch this movie, and that's what I did. And I think that's the mistake.
You know what's funny? After talking about it for like 2 hours, I think I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
That's
we've
awesome.
started you. You're an addict. Now we've started the next cycle.
Yes.
And I just realized the whole time I've been talking, I have a Roadhouse poster over there.
Amazing.
On my door, but it's not even like it's one like in Philadelphia we had the Trocadero venue which has been closed, and Roadhouse just played there one night with Steven Seagal is above the law, and I just took a the poster from the lobby. I didn't even get like a real Roadhouse.
But I'll start with Jamie. Is there anything you want to recommend?
Well, yeah. Okay. So I was
either in addition to or instead of Roadhouse. Let's say.
So I was trying to think, because this was definitely when I read the little background about Western. My dad is such a Western fan. I was like, all right, what Western did I watch with my dad that I really enjoyed? Couldn't think of one to save my. Then I thought, okay, well, this movie, it was very sexy to me. Okay, so what's a sexy movie I've seen that I could recommend? Couldn't think of one. And then I thought, well, that Kelly Lynch, I've seen her before. What else have I seen her in? And I thought of something very unsexy and not very Western. The movie from 1991 with Kelly Lynch and Jim Belushi. It's called Curly Sue. And I don't know if either one of you have seen it. It's an odd recommendation to come out of Roadhouse, but it's what I'm recommending.
I already told you I hadn't seen it, and you were appalled at the fact that I had not seen Curly Sue.
I mean, it's because Kelly Lynch is in it. That's my connection there. And she's kind of this rich mom or I don't remember how she gets Curly Sue in her custody, but it's about a little girl with curly hair. Really has nothing to do. There's no action. It's not sexy. Jim Belushi's in it, so it's, kind of funny, sort of sweet in it, but... yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's my recommendation from Roadhouse.
Wow. All right.
I have a movie to recommend, actually.
All right, go for it.
If I'm remembering this movie right, I've definitely seen this before. I was looking at what the director has done other than this, and I'm seeing he did 2 movies with Cuba Gooding Jr. A Murder of Crows. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Basically, Cuba Gooding Jr. is a disbarred lawyer. And he becomes friends with this guy who dies, and he finds out the guy was writing a book, so he just steals the guy's manuscript and publishes the book. But it's about murdering a bunch of lawyers, and it turns out the guy murdered a bunch of lawyers, and now the police are investigating Cuba Gooding Jr. And he's gonna be like, do I tell people I stole the book, or do I actually kind of want to. I definitely have seen this movie, but I'm like, oh, that was the same director. I kind of want to watch this movie again. So yeah, people watch that and let me know if it's good. Or
okay, there you go. I love it.
I love the recommendation of like, can somebody else do this for me and just let me know how this turns out? I'm going to recommend an action movie that I just recently saw. And Jamie, as you know, I either recommend movies that are really old or movies that are foreign.
Yes.
So I'm going to recommend a Japanese movie from 2000 called Versus.
I've seen Versus,
which is super awesome. It's basically these Yakuza show up in like a haunted forest, and so then whenever somebody dies, they turn into a zombie. But then at one point, a dude shows up, and he's kind of like a vampire. It's a movie like I've never seen before, where they introduce characters every 20 minutes just so that they can die, and so they have more zombies to fight.
So they have more victims?
It's yes, it's wildly entertaining. It's crazy. And the director, the cut I watched was like Super Versus or whatever. Yeah. He went back like 5 years later and shot just more fight scenes to jam into this movie. So it's really great, and that would be my recommendation if you loved Roadhouse or maybe you didn't think it was that great. So Tony, listen, thank you again for coming.
Yes,
and
thank you.
You want to
you're
you want to
welcome.
tell us a little bit about Hack the Movies and other things that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I'll do that real quick. I do want to mention I just found out Murder of Crows is streaming on Amazon Prime and IMDb TV for free.
There you go.
Yes, check out the Hack the Movies channel. That is my channel now. If you were a Cinemassacre fan who watched the show Rental Reviews, I basically just do the same show with less views. And I am a less famous host. But people really, really like the show. We do Talking About Tapes. Usually we do Talking About Tapes on Monday, where we talk about movies like from 2005 and below, because that was the era of VHS.
Gotcha.
And then we just have a show just called Hack the Movies. It's basically the same show, but for modern stuff. And that has a podcast feed now. You can go to hackthemovies.com or wherever podcasts are. We have a Patreon. I also have a Godzilla podcast.
Fun.
And now that I know you're local, I want to definitely get you on that show at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Called Castzilla versus the Pod Monster. You can look that up. And we just, our good friend Carl was on an episode.
Okay.
We did Destroy All Monsters, which is one of the most iconic Godzilla films ever. So, I got Carl, who knows nothing about Godzilla, and he made fun of it the whole time. So that was a great
That's a
episode.
super fun Godzilla movie.
Not according to Carl.
Oh, okay. All right. I was gonna say I'm not the biggest Godzilla fan, but that
my
one.
co-host jokes all the time. She's just like, can we get like guests who actually know about Godzilla? I'm like, no, it's so much funnier when we get people who don't like it.
Yeah, especially to go in and be like, I don't know, I watched the 6th film of this series with a bunch of monsters. I don't know what the
And,
hell's
people
going on.
they're like, why did you have that on? I'm like, yeah, because who gives a shit? Like, I
That's
love
awesome.
Godzilla, but who gives a shit?
Oh my god! And I do have one question
Yes.
just before we go. On your, for your YouTube video stuff like that, you appear to be sitting in is it just a set that you make look like a video store?
Yes.
Is it like an old video store that you have taken
No,
over?
no,
Like,
no,
what
no.
is this?
It's definitely a set. There's a few videos where you can see that it's a fake set. When we were still on Cinemasker, we reviewed Truman Show, and we did a skit at the end. We're like, wait a minute, our lives are a show, and we reversed the camera and showed we were just in a studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the guys at my work, they got a bunch of storefront stuff from like a closed vape shop, a vape and tattoo shop. And most of now, because we have people donating their collections to us, they're just sending us our tapes. But for the longest time, most of the tapes and DVDs on the wall were from my dead grandfather. He left me his video collection, and they were just sitting in boxes for years. And then we were like, "Oh, we're building a fake video store." I'm like, "I got it!" I'm like, "I got you covered, guys."
No, I think it's great. It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
and
well,
it
now
really,
that I know you're local, I'll definitely show it to you. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly building a Godzilla 98 shrine on the set, and I don't know why. I don't even like that movie.
No, this is all local stuff. I teach at Del Val. I can come right over after I teach some stupid class sometime.
Awesome. That's great. But yeah, and then
No, that's awesome.
usually check me out, Twitter, Instagram. It's all the same handle, basically. You'll find me.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
Tony, thank you again for showing up.
Yes.
And everybody, thanks for listening. And again, we will be back in 2 weeks with a new guest who brought another movie for us to talk about. And until then, have a great 2 weeks, everybody.
Okay.
It's my way or the highway.
So are you at least somewhat familiar with what we do here? Just go through the whole movie basically beat by beat, kind of.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I do that people yell
Yep.
at me for doing.
Exactly. Yep.
I tried to justify it recently because people were like, why do you do it beat for beat? I'm like, oh, because I'm on YouTube. And if I stretch it out to an hour, I can squeeze more ads in because
There
I'm
you
an
go.
asshole.
At least you have some justification. We have no reason for what we're doing. So